Hello, I'm going to be giving a quick little PSA about phenylcyclohexyl piperidine, or PCP for short. The rest of the presentation, I'll refer to it as PCP because, quite frankly, it's really hard to say its actual name whether you're high or sober. So moving on to background information, it's classified as a dissociative anesthetic. It acts as a hallucinogen, depressant, and stimulant all at once, which makes it pretty unique. It is a Schedule II drug because it doesn't have any more recognized medicinal qualities. Street names: PCP, angel dust, rocket fuel, and whack. Its appearance is a white powder, as I have visualized on the right, but also can be a clear/yellowish liquid depending on how it's processed. Is PCP addictive? Yes. Can you build a tolerance through profound use? Yes, you can. So, history and use today. It was first synthesized and brought to market as a general anesthetic in 1956. 9 years later, in 1965, it was banned for sale in the U.S. because of its accumulation of negative side effects, and its addictive nature in those 9 years had really started to become apparent. Also, the discovery of ketamine, which at the time was a much safer alternative, hit the market and really drove PCP out. It was still allowed for use in animals until 1978, however. Today, many drugs are derivatives of PCP and still sold in the U.S. Street use began in the 1960s and still remains somewhat popular in the U.S. up until today. Statistics real quick: 73,000 Americans admitted to using the drug in 2019 based on self-reporting, and around 6 million have used the drug once in their lifetime from the age of 12 or older. We're going to now move on to general effects on the body. So administration-wise, most people smoke it, but also ways that remain popular are oral consumption, snorting, and injection. CNS effects: it targets the NMDA receptor in the brain and acts as an antagonist to that glutamate receptor. Mixing PCP is incredibly popular, particularly with other drugs like marijuana or the nicotine and tobacco, but also alcohol. The high you get. So high intake of PCP will result in hallucinations. Users report distortions of reality, particularly to sight and sound, and when combined with other drugs especially. On the right, I have a visualization of some of the art people have done while high on PCP. Dangers, though: violent behavior, seizures, suicide, coma, addiction, and death. Some of the big ones to look out for there are the suicide and violent behaviors. Moving on, negative effects while high. Just going to go through these real quick. We have numbness in extremities, inability to feel pain, blurred vision, uncontrolled eye movement, difficulty speaking, rigid muscles, agitation, combativeness, memory loss, high blood pressure, and elevated heart rate. So some of the big ones to look out for there are inability to feel pain, combativeness, agitation, difficulty speaking. So a lot of things people have heard about PCP are true, that people on it don't feel pain, so they'll do things they might not otherwise do, and they're very aggressive. On the right, I have a timeline of PCP leaving the body. I like in this one that it notes that it's different for everybody depending on some physical factors of the person, but about 1.5 to 10 days. Withdrawals: there are short-term and long-term symptoms associated with withdrawals of PCP. Just to go through them real quick: short-term, we have fear, relentlessness, agitation, headache, tremors, seizures, diarrhea, increased body temperature, and muscle breakdown. For long-term effects, we have depression, suicidal thoughts, memory loss, weight loss, speech impediment, mood swings, cognitive impairment, and sleep disturbances. So as you can see, it's very hard to get off of PCP. It has quite a grasp on people because as soon as you get off of it, there's all these short-term effects that are definitely more than just minor inconveniences. And on the long-term end of things, when you're off of it for a while, you still deal with things like depression, suicidal thoughts, sleep disturbances, and memory loss that can have a real impact on your health long-term. Overdoses: there's not a lot of information about overdoses on the internet when it comes to PCP. There are a few important things to notice. Overdoses on PCP are relatively more rare than other drugs, and that's for a couple of reasons. One is it usually only occurs when mixing with other drugs. So like going back to the mixing with marijuana, tobacco, alcohol, that's when we most commonly see overdoses on PCP. Another important thing to notice is that it can be hard. So when someone is actually overdosing on PCP, it can be pretty hard to notice and spot that, because if you, going back to it, a lot of the symptoms of both being high on PCP and not high on PCP are very similar. So it can be hard to tell when somebody has made that transition between just being high on PCP versus now having a full-blown overdose on PCP. And it can make it, again, it's a very dangerous drug to use. I recommend, for more information on this, you should look at the American Addiction Centers. They're very helpful in terms of research for this project. On the right here, I have the PCP high growth chart, and it notes both the dangers, some of the more common ones, some of the less common ones, and it just, again, it goes to show a lot of the symptoms are the same, and it's hard to differentiate between different phases. Here are my references. Thank you guys very much.